Hey everyone, it's World Refugee Day, and we're here with Halima, who lives in Ontario, north of Toronto. And Halima, introduce yourself. Who are you? What are you up to?
I'm Halima, and I'm an addiction counselor in York region. And I'm also working with different communities to support the Afghans and Hazaras who are settling down in Canada.
Perfect. So before we get into that amazing volunteer work that you're doing and paid work for that matter, let's just ask you some three quick questions. First question, what's something you're good at?
I'm good at listening to people.
Okay. What's something you're bad at?
I'm very bad at expressing my anger in a diplomatic way.
Which I love, by the way. That's not a weakness necessarily. Okay, last question. What's something that you find or found weird about Canada?
I found it weird that the streets are very, very large. There's a lot of space because, like, different countries I have been as a refugee, I always seen spaces very tight and the streets very narrow. So I found it really when I saw like I came like, wow, this is huge. Everything seemed to be so huge to me. That was weird, but yeah, everything else was beautiful when I came to Canada.
That's nice. So I think yesterday when I was trying to book you as an interview, you were busy doing stuff. What was that stuff you were doing?
I was delivering food hamper to the communities, Afghan communities in Toronto. So I volunteer at Afghan Canadian Islamic Community, and I'm managing a project where since the COVID-19 started, Salam Foundation provides us with the fund, and we try to get the groceries for each families who are suffering from financial problems due to COVID-19 or because they're newcomers and single mothers. So we provide over 85 families. We provide them with food hamper. Like there's so many volunteers and another organization, the Hazara Humanitarian Services, Canadian Hazara Humanitarian Services, they also volunteer to support each other, to deliver all this food to them.
Now you mentioned the Hazara people. For those who aren't familiar, who are they, where are they living, and what are they going through right now?
Hazara people, they're a part of an ethnic group who live in Afghanistan. One of the 5 large ethnic group from Afghanistan, and I'm from the Hazara community as well myself, and Hazaras have been persecuted by governments of Afghanistan since 1800s. So there were multiple genocides happening against Hazaras due to their different ethnic origin. They're Mongolite, they have a Mongolite race, and due to also their different religion sectors. So they're Muslims, but they're Shia Muslims. And they have been persecuted multiple times, first by the Abdul Rahman in late 80s to early 1900s, and then throughout they were discriminated against. Then when the civil war started, also when the Taliban came, they have done huge massacres against Hazara ethnic group. Unfortunately, it's going on right now too. So since the government of Afghanistan was established after occupation of Afghanistan by NATO, the persecution of Hazaras continues, unfortunately. by the terrorist groups of Taliban and ISIS, and also due to the lack of support from the government.
So were you yourself at one point a refugee? What was that? What's the story there?
Yeah, when the Taliban occupied Mazar-e-Sharif, at that time we were living in Mazar-e-Sharif in 1998. My family, we basically left Afghanistan after the occupation, after we basically lived all the massacre in Mazar-e-Sharif. We started to basically, that time it was very hard to take a visa and then run away from Afghanistan. We had to go through like by bus through Pakistan, through Iran, through Afghanistan, and then finally in Uzbekistan. There's so many, I have lived as a refugee in so many different countries. It is not easy to leave everything behind, you know, your home, your friends, your school, your family, and just go to a different country to seek refuge. So my experience as a refugee, to be honest, was different in each country. But it is, in general, it's very hard to go to a new country. You have to adapt, you have to start from fresh. You know, it's hard to learn the language and get the school credits, try to build a career, try to focus on create a living again. And like the idea of not knowing if you are going to be living here, if the country will support you as a refugee or not, is very, very hard.
There are many thousands of Hazara refugees, I think it's fair to say, in countries like Indonesia, Malaysia, who, you know, they can't go back if they want to keep their lives. But then they're not being resettled elsewhere, are they? Many of them. What's something, so they're in this horrible limbo, right? Where they would die if they went back to Pakistan or Afghanistan, and yet they're not being sent by the UNHCR anywhere else, and they're not allowed to work or go to school. So they're in this terrible limbo, which I would say is kind of a crime against humanity, that we're putting really talented, good people in this terrible sort of endless state of waiting for something, right? So if that is the case, what's something, I mean, what's something people can do to make this better? Is there anything?
Yeah, it's very hard. I agree that, you know, living in a country in a situation where you don't know what's going to happen, how long, how many years you're going to stay, and raising children in that situation, it's terrible. It's I hope that people from Canada and other countries as well can actually support them to come to countries like Canada and settle down. You know, it's huge. Like we have done this for Syrian refugees. We have done this for you know, for other people who were fleeing their country due to political issues or war or whatever was going on there. So why not Hazaras? You know, we have been persecuted by our own governments, and we're not safe there. There's weekly bombing and terrorist attacks, and you know, taking them as captives and slaughtering by different groups in Afghanistan against Hazaras. So many people are suffering, so many families with young children, so many young people are wasting their 7 years in living in camps and in detention centers. I hope that everyone stand up against it, and you know, the minimum thing that they can do is try to sponsor them, try to at least raise awareness about what's going on in Indonesia or other countries, and then help them to come and settle in Canada. Hopefully, I think they will, that's going to be something that they will appreciate for the rest of their life.
Yeah. Thank you so much for your time and for all the amazing work you're doing.
Welcome. Thank you.